And stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media coming to you live from South Africa.
Food is an integral part of our well-being. It is an integral part of our heritage, our culture. What we eat, why we eat certain foods, is culturally, religiously, psychologically, politically influenced. African foods are considered as poverty foods, nutrient deficient, and obesity causing. Now, I'd like to think that all foods, well, majority of the foods, especially the processed ones, can have these factors where they're nutrient deficient and obesity causing. And it's not just about African foods per se, but obviously those are the lies that we have been fed throughout the years. Anyway, joining me on the other side is Mbali Mapholi, who is a dietitian. And today we're going to be talking about African food. Does it cause weight gain? Hi, Mbali.
Hi, Miriam. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. And yourself?
I'm fantastic, thank you.
Right. So, what are your thoughts on African staples or the African diet, if you can call it that?
You know, as you were saying earlier, that for the longest of time, how the African foods have been viewed is that they are fattening, they are nutrient deficient, they are the reason why we are sitting with, the double burden of malnutrition, which is undernutrition, but also overnutrition. But the truth of the matter is that it is not about one food. It is not about, when we look into, for example, obesity, it is not the fact that one is eating pap, for example, that they are obese, but it's the poor diet in a sense of the food choices that they are consuming and, lack of activity when they are, not physically active and those sort of things. But it becomes easier I think for most people who don't understand what are we talking about when we're talking about, African food, and they just say blanket it and say, no, all of those foods, no, they're not nutritious. But as a person who grew up in the village, I grew up eating amasi. I grew up eating, imifino, which is your leafy vegetables from the garden, wild leafy vegetables from the garden. I grew up eating the insides of the chicken, your chicken gizzards, your liver, your whatever intestines, heads and neck and everything. And yes, I grew up eating uputu, I grew up eating sampan beans and all that. And when you look into each of those food items, you start realizing that actually these foods are nutritious. And we can talk about maize meal, for example, that we use to make pap. And most people would say, no, maize meal is empty. But the truth is, in South Africa, maize meal that we buy commercially is fortified with nutrition. It's fortified with vitamins and minerals because as part of the food fortification program, it was identified that maize meal is a staple. So if we want to solve micronutrient deficiencies like your iron deficiency, vitamin A deficiency, and so forth, how do we do it? We use foods that people, or the majority of the people that are suffering from those nutrient deficiencies, are familiar with. Hence, today in 2020, it will be a little bit ignorant for us to say maize meal is empty, because a commercial maize meal is not empty. It is high in energy, yes, but we don't sit. That's where I also say to the people who enjoy eating maize meal, pap and all that, I often say we can't sit and eat mountains of uputu or pap, because if we do that, we are going back to what I was talking about, that poor quality meals, poor diet. That is what causes obesity.
Well, why is it considered as unhealthy and nutrient deficient, or is it just lies that we have been fed?
To an extent, when you look into long time ago, where majority of the people will grind their own maize meal. So they will grow maize meal and then use the stone to make they will grow maize and then use the stone to make the powder, the maize meal. So during that process, what will normally happen, because when you are grinding the maize to make maize meal, you lose a lot of fiber and nutrients that sit on the husk of the maize. Because you don't want maize meal that has all those husks and those covers, because they are not pleasant to eat in a sense of your normal porridge or pap or whatever. So from that experience, then that maize meal that was homemade, that was ground using that stone or a machine. I remember at my house, there was a machine that my granny had that used to make maize meal. That maize meal was nutrient deficient because you had lost now nutrients, you had lost all these nutrients through that, refining process. Even to this day, the commercial maize meal that we are eating, yes, during the milling process, those nutrients are lost. Majority of the fiber is lost, and the vitamins that sit on the husk are also lost. But as I said, now the commercial maize meal, they've put back those vitamins into the maize meal. And that means now when we look into the people who buy maize meal from the shop, we can say that maize meal is not empty. Yes, as I said, maize meal when you look into pap or whatever other maize meal varieties that we eat, they are high energy. Hence, you cannot just have maize meal alone or have it in higher quantities. Your plate must be balanced. And that's where we speak of plates that are colorful. Yes, there is maize meal. There is the protein source and there is plenty of vegetables. So that approach gives us meals that are nutritious, gives us meals that we enjoy. Because, for people, I often say, people do not have to change who they are to achieve good health. So that means that people should not be told never eat pap just because you want to lose weight, but they should be educated on how to improve their plates with pap involved, with mashonja involved, mopani worms involved, with all the mirojos that we have from wherever you come from. It needs to be those type of education and conversations that we need to have.
All right. Now, I'd like to know if pap is energy, full of energy. Why do we feel sleepy after eating it?
The biggest thing with after eating pap, we feel sleepy. It's because we dish up mountains of pap. You go to funerals and you see people dishing up, or like whatever function, and you see people dishing up pap, and you'll be like, what? How can somebody be like, what? So I think if that's a culture, and it's not the best culture we've adopted, and that is where I often say, when I talk to people and I say that is where we've gone wrong ourselves, because when we eat such mountains of pap, we're going to feel sleepy. Pap is packed with energy. Ideally, you should eat it and bounce with energy, but not really, because now you've eaten such a high quantity and it's heavy. And because I said it lacks fiber that is lost during the milling process, we cannot ignore the fact that foods that are low in fiber, that are more refined, we eat more because we're trying to compensate. We're not feeling fuller quickly. But foods that are high fiber, they make us feel full for longer and, quite quickly. So, but if we balance our plates and put plenty of vegetables, we compensate for the fiber that is not in the pap, but also make sure that our meals are not just, packed with pap and then you're going to eat and want to fall asleep. I've seen it. I see people, I laugh often when I drive around, you see people sleeping under the tree, and I'll be thinking, they must have been eating like a mountain of pap. If they were educated, hence I like my commitment into the dietetics as a profession is nutrition education, because I believe that our people, especially people of my color, color, they need to be educated on quality meals and how do you pair things and how do you make sure that you get the best out of the meal, as opposed to having a meal and then falling asleep right straight away.
And also when you notice that where the places that they buy some of these meals, it is also dished out quite big portions of the pap, and then there's the meat, and then there aren't any vegetables on the side or anything, because also when you do the plate test, it's supposed to be like divided into half and a quarters, where your veggie is supposed to take up more than your proteins and your starches, but then it's like the other way around. So where else do we go wrong, and when do we get it right? Do we ever get it right?
I think, when we're trying to get it right, what we do? We then ditch it. We ditch the whole. We just say, what? I'm not going to have pap. I don't eat pap. I don't eat any of what we call traditional African foods. But then you are miserable, because now you go to functions and events and family gatherings, and now you keep on saying, oh, I'm on a diet. I don't eat this. I don't eat that. So I think we go wrong when we do it the two extremes, too clean or like, too high quantity. But this is where I often say everything in moderation. It sounds like I sound like a broken record, but honestly, if we approach it like that, we are able to then have pap today in a right quantity, tomorrow have another starch, maybe have sorghum, the following day, like that. So we've got a variety of foods, because even with pap, you can't have it every day. You need a variety, because each food we eat provides us with nutrients that are not found in the next food. So we have to get into that culture of variety of foods and alternating, and not just eat the same thing every day. You spoke earlier that sometimes, lunchtime they go by and the portions, pap is quite affordable. So that's why wherever they're buying food, they will just dish up a high. And there's an assumption in our culture that you must be hungry. We need to feed you. You must be fed. So I often say to people then, when you are buying like that, like when you're buying on the, food street vendors and stuff, do mention that, half portion, and they will gladly not dish up the full spoon or whatever and and dish up half for you, and on those whatever plate or whatever where you're dishing up, and then you are able to then control and say, okay, now that's enough, and then you dish up other stuff. There is often your beetroot and beans and coleslaw on the food street vendors that they sell. So ask more on that and just say, can I have a spoon more or a little bit more of the coleslaw or whatever beetroot that is there. That is going to get us in that culture.
All right, Mbali, I have a few questions from our WhatsApp line, but we need to take a quick break, and we will resume when we come back.
Okay.
Population are in desperate need of basic necessities. The African Muslims Agency teams are on the ground undertaking emergency relief efforts. Come to the aid of the people of Yemen by donating any amount now towards food, shelter, and medication. Contact AMA now on 011 834 8685. African Muslims Agency, inspiring the spirit of giving.
It's the biggest sale of the year. Black Friday all weekend long with Randery Jewelers. From the 27th to the 29th of November. You can expect fantastic special offers, ridiculously low prices, and loads of fun. With free foot massages for the ladies, free henna application, and a sumptuous high tea. Follow Randery Jewelers on Instagram to view our specials and enter the competition where you can win a diamond ring valued at 4,000 Rand. Visit www.randeryjewelers.com to shop online. Randery Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Enduring Boys College ke sekolo sa boarding and day se se ikemego se agilwe meleng wa lephefo wa N1 Polokwane. Re tlhotlheletsa thuto ye tlhwatlhwa ya monagano le maikutlo lefelong la maleba la go akaretsa botlhe. Re busha re latela melago ya NCS CAPS curriculum, ra ba ra neela ka madulo a bashimane ba mphato wa botshelela go fitlha ka marematlou. Ebile re na le didirishwa tsa boarding tsa mphato wa botshelela go ba go fitlha ka marematlou. Maikemišetšo a Enduring College ke go fana ka thuto ya boleng jwa maemo a godimo bjo bo tlhotlheletšago botho. Enduring College ke legae la bobedi la polokego le totego. E ngwadišitšwe le lefapha la thuto e le go Umalusi. Tsebo ka botlalo e hwetša nomorong ya 078 452 6264. 078 452 6264. Re hwetša gape go Facebook le Instagram goba o re romele email go polokwane@endurance-colleges.co.za.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media coming to you live from South Africa.
Media, and we are also live on Facebook. We are talking about African staples and do they make you gain weight? Do they make you fat? Some people are asking here. Is my belly fat caused by eating tripe? We have our dietitian Mbali Mapholi to tell us that. Yeah, now Mbali, what about when it comes to foods such as spatlo, dikoda? Those are like simple and easy food to get, especially if you're a student, and like almost every corner you can get it, but they're packed with a lot of starch, So how healthy are those, and how often should they be consumed?
Okay, so that's now a different type of, our staples. Those are now what we would call convenience foods, if you're looking at, of like fast foods, if you're looking at it like that. And ispacho and amagwinya and vetkoek and all that, those types of food are very much highly refined, obviously made with white flour, but also the fillings are high in sodium because it's processed meats, be it whatever polony, Russians, whatever that is put in there. So once in a while, just like a burger or a pizza, you can have that as part of your healthy diet. It is not a matter of either or, pizza or broccoli. They can coexist in the same diet. So spatula can also coexist with vegetables. The problem is that I'm not saying eat spatula with vegetable, but I'm saying you can have spatula on some other days and then, still continue to have your healthy meals. The problem is when we now solely rely on those type of fast foods like amagwinya and chips and every single day. That is where the problem is. The Department of Health had at some point did a billboard, and they were saying they were putting those type of fast foods as like a combo for diabetes and obesity. So if you're going to consume those highly refined foods like that in high quantities every single day, definitely your weight management is going to be poor, leading into eventually being obese, and that can increase your risk of chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and all that. But I want people to understand once in a while, as part of your healthy diet, they are fine. I eat amagwinya sometimes now and then, it's not a biggie, but it doesn't mean that amagwinya replace me having a variety of vegetables and making sure that my meals are packed with vegetables whenever I can.
Right. So there's another question here from our WhatsApp line. Is there an easy way to remember how much of protein, vegetable, and good fats you need in one plate?
Okay. Ideally, you should go see a dietitian for an individualized type of, portions, because everybody's different in terms of their nutritional needs. But as a general broader guide, we say that your fist size should be your bab, so fist, and then your palm size. So this part should be then your protein, be it your meat or fish. And then as much as you can feel in your both hands, that's a serving of the vegetables in the plate. So if you are dividing the plate, so quarter plate will be your bab, quarter plate will be your isishebo or your protein-rich food, and then half of your plate will be vegetables. 2, 3, whatever, however many colors you want in your plate. Most people then, what they do, because they don't want to eat the starch, your bab and rice, then they fill the plate with half a plate protein sources and then half a plate vegetables. That is not ideal. If you are removing your starch or staple, then maybe put more vegetables, more starchy vegetables, butternut, sweet potato, gem squash, pumpkin, to make sure that your meals are filling without putting more protein source foods.
Yeah, because there are a lot of starchy vegetables that we can incorporate if we are choosing to eliminate the normal starches that we know. And we see this sometimes, when we attend functions and we have what we call 7 colors, everything is there. And, we want a bit of everything, but, sometimes it becomes too much also. So with the festive season coming up, how can we work our way around that?
Yeah, you know what? I think the original concept of 7 colors was the best, because the 7 colors was coming from the coleslaw, the beef, the vegetables or the salads, as we call them. But now people tend to now call 7 colors just by adding a chicken, lamb, beef, wors, and more meat and more
Yes.
meat. We need to go back to the original 7 colors. So if our plate has 7 colors and it's literally, as I said, a portion of your starch and portion of your meat, one meat, be it red meat or chicken, and then the other colors come from a variety of salads, then that plate is perfect because it is giving us, with each color, we get nutrients like red, you get specific nutrients, green, like that. So let's go back to that way of eating. I mean, we have a debate of whether baked beans and mayo is a salad or not, because we grew up
It's a
eating baked
salad.
beans and mayo. It's a salad, yes. So that, I mean, you can have that in the plate. It brings good fiber because baked beans are packed with fiber. Then that plate is a beautiful. So during festive season, let's aim to not have more options of meat, but rather have more options of the salads, the way we want to eat them. You can then argue, do you put a sauce? Don't you put a sauce? That's a more insignificant conversation to have. The big thing is that we get South Africans to eat more vegetables.
Now, what about food preparation? That is also a very important factor when it comes to not killing the nutrients and making sure that we have enough nutrients in our food.
Yeah.
How do we prepare our foods?
One of the best ways of preserving nutrients, especially when we look into vegetables, they contain mostly what we call water-soluble vitamins. So that means that once you overcook those vegetables and you discard the water that you've cooked them in, you've lost the majority of the water-soluble vitamins because they go with water. So we want to adopt more dry cooking methods where there is minimal water loss. You steam instead of boiling in a lot of water and having your spinach cry and say, I've had it, I'm done. So we bake, we grill. If you can, put your vegetables over the braai stand, and grill them there, that's perfect. Your corn, you can do that. Your aubergines, you can do that. Your peppers, you can braai them. But the best way of cooking is when there is less water loss. So just try not to boil and then discard the water. But also what we do is that we boil, we add margarine or butter or oil, and then we discard water. Now you're not only losing the water soluble vitamins by doing that, you are now also losing the fat soluble vitamins. So minimal water, and when that water has evaporated or been used up, then add a little bit of butter. But after that, there's no discarding that needs to happen because we are losing more vitamins.
And I have seen some people when preparing vegetables, they would they would boil it and then throw out the boiling water and then add some more water and then cook the vegetables. So it's like,
my heart. When I see that, my heart, I'm like, no, don't do it. No. We need to preserve. I've seen people even take a cloth and literally make the spinach dry and drip juice. And I'll be like, no, you are losing all the chlorophyll. You're losing all those plant nutrients that are fantastic from that vegetable. We need to preserve. And that's why it's important to be present when you're cooking so that you just don't add water and go do other stuff. You need to keep on watching your pot and add water as and when it's needed, not just because, you want to make sure it doesn't burn and you go do other stuff.
So we also need to learn how to cook our vegetables properly. Blanching is a way that we can do things. And I've seen people buying air fryers these days.
Yes. Black Friday is coming. Look out for air fryers. One of the best ways these days of cooking your food and using minimal oils and minimal water as well in that cooking. Fantastic piece of equipment indeed.
I have to go and look out for mine. Let me see if there are any Black Friday deals. But I've got another question here from WhatsApp. What about high protein and low carb diets?
Oh, I don't think I've got sufficient time to tackle that one. It's a big one. But to be honest, a brief answer on that is that any diet that is a fat diet that promises quick results, you need to put another set of eyes into it, because if it's like that, it means it might not be sustainable for long term. And I think next time I come back, especially in January where everybody's on a diet, we can then decode the diets and say the pros and cons of each diet. Yeah.
All right, so thank you so much for your time, Mbali. Please share with us your contact details, social media handles, if people would like to get a hold of you.
Okay, so they can get hold of me on Facebook. It's at Mbali Mapholi Inc., registered dietitians. On Twitter and Instagram, it's Eben Dietitian, dietitian with Dietian, not the C. Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much for your time and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye. That was an urban dietitian, Mbali Mapholi, taking us through African foods, how to prepare them, how much to eat. As we say, too much of a good thing is not good for you. And we also have to live in moderation. Moderation is key, even if you would like to lose weight. You don't have to completely cut down on your favorite foods, just have less of them per day, per week, whenever. But also, as Mbali said, go and see a dietitian who will help you to determine what works for your body, what works for your health, what you can have and what you can't have. And you'll be well on your way to being healthy again. And the key word is being healthy and not being not losing weight. Losing weight will be part of the process. That will be like a bonus, but the key is just to be healthy in the process. And you can find her on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as Mbali Mapholi Dietitian with a T, not with a C, and Urban Dietitian on Instagram and Twitter. You are listening to the Maryam Mkwanda Show on Salam Media. Please leave your comments, questions, queries, or suggestions in the comment section below, or send them to us via WhatsApp on 0617660355 and let us know what topics you would like Mbali to tackle the next time we have her. We will be right back.